Welcome to today's episode on Azure Policies for Compliance Management. In this session, we will explore how Azure Policies helps you to enforce compliance across your Azure environment. Compliance is also very essential for any organization, and Azure provides a powerful tool, or I can say tool set, to ensure that your resources adhere to your organization's standards. Whether you are managing a single resource or an entire cloud infrastructure, Azure policies can help automate and streamline your compliance management. So let's dive in. We have already discussed what is Azure policies in previous episodes. So remember, most of Azure components, or I will say logics or services, will be repeated again and again. So if you already know the definition, take it as a revision. All right, with that, let's begin by understanding what Azure Policy is again and how it can help manage compliance across your Azure environment. Well, Azure Policy is a governance tool that enables you to enforce rules or protocols for resource compliance, especially in Azure. It helps you to ensure that all resources in your environment meets a specific standards and policies, promoting consistency and security in your cloud architecture. Now, for that, the first logic or topic is built-in and custom policies. Remember, if we are applying Azure policies and we know that it is used to enforce rule, there's one more component which we need to understand, that there are many built-in and custom policies. Well, as I said, Azure provides a big range of built-in policies for common use cases. But you can also create your custom policies, uh, which can be tailored to your organization's specific needs. So if you don't find a policy which suits you, create your own. These policies help define rules for resources or resource, I will say, configuration, locations, security control, and actions, and even more. It's quite extensive. The next thing you need to learn is compliance assessment. Well, Azure Policy continuously evaluates your resources for compliance. It's not just one-time scan. It scans your environment again and again. It also allows you to track and report on non-compliant resources in your environment, ensuring that you are always aware of potential issues. And how about some solutions? Well, remediation. Here, Azure policies can sometime, if you configure it properly, automatically remediate non-compliant resources, saving you time and efforts. It also ensures that your environment remains in a compliant state without manual intervention. If I put it simply, if you are on vacation or at home and some devices go out of compliance, if you have made your automation scripts properly, Azure can actually automatically run it and try to fix your environment and make sure that the resources come back to compliance. Now let's discuss some of the use cases. Well, you can enforce resource location rules to ensure resources are deployed in approved region. That can be done by policies. You can also enforce or make it a compulsion to apply tags. Remember, tags are just optional, but you can also make it compulsory. You can also enforce security controls, such as requiring encryption on the creation of any new virtual machine. So if you apply this policy, anyone who wants to create a virtual machine have to encrypt it. You can also apply a backup compulsion, means someone who wants to create a VM must have a backup. So these are your policies which create restrictive boundaries. Moving further, we have how to create and assigning policies or to assign policy to ensure compliance. So let's discuss about that. If we dive in this topic, I will start with creating policies. That should be the first step. Well, here you have options. You can use built-in or custom policy definitions here. You can either use your multiple built-in options, or you can create multiple custom policies, or you can also combine them in group. Now, for instance, you can define a policy to restrict resources to a specific region. We already discussed it. Or allow a particular VM size. That can also be done. So the first step is find your policy, find your definition. If you cannot find it, create your own. The next step will be to assign policies. Well, here you assign your policies to subscription, resource group, or management group at any level. So once you have created a policy on top, now you will choose the scope. I already told you that there might be multiple levels of your scope. That is management group, subscription, resource, or resource groups. So you assign the policies to a particular scope. What next? Well, now, after you have assigned your policy, you sit back and monitor your compliance. Here you will check how many devices are actually compliant or how many services or applications are compliant. On the other hand, you will also see a report on non-compliant devices. From that point onwards, you can either fix it or you can also create a new automation which will fix your non-compliant devices automatically or services automatically. Now, remediation. Well, remediation will only work if you know how to create a proper automation sequence. But what it means is, if the administrator creates a proper automation task, then Azure can trigger that automated response automatically. It's in the name. Now, manual intervention will not be required. And if the service or a device is non-compliant, Azure will try to bring that device in compliance. For example, a service is down or a machine is not working properly, and automation will be to restart the machine or maybe to restart the service. Or let's say there's a VM which is non-compliant because there is no backup of the VM. Then the automation can be to create a backup. Once a backup is created, that machine will come back to compliance. So that is your remediation. Now we can move to our next topic, that is monitoring compliance with Azure Policy Insights. Well, it's in the name again, monitoring. Here you view compliance state or status of your Azure environment. And you do it on Azure portal. Well, after assigning policy, you have to do this. You just have to monitor. This actually helps you to see which resource or what services are not compliant and what you can do with that. So what is policy insight then? Well, Azure provide policy insights to track and review non-compliant resource. Again, the same thing. These insights also offer valuable information on the specific policy violation and areas that need attention. So you get a unified location or unified dashboard where you can see your environment status. This will come again. Your remedy will always follow with a non-compliant device. So one of the most powerful feature is Azure Policy Remediation. And in this, you will automate your tasks to bring the non-compliant devices back to compliance. Again, this is kind of a revision for you. But remember, if I'm repeating this remediation multiple times, then you should also put more emphasis here. A lot of organizations actually pay money for automation. They want everyone to know how to automate repetitive tasks. So automation will be really important for the future. Keep that in mind. And audit logs. Well, here again, you can audit logs. Logs are just historical data which will keep track of any changes or any modification done by any user or service. And logs will also maintain timestamps. So every log will have a timestamp so that you can investigate, you can check your environment that what changes were made by someone. And you can also apply accountability with that. So let's move to our labs now. In this lab, we will try to apply multiple policies and check the compliance status. So I will see you in the lab. All right, now let's check how to apply Azure policies on subscription level. So remember, the policies can be applied on different scopes. It can be applied on a resource group, a subscription, or even management group. So it all starts from management group side. So search for Azure policies or simply policies. And over here, you create the policy. So I will go to definitions because we need to decide what policies we want to actually apply. There's a long list of policy definitions. You can actually filter it. So let's filter and find a simple policy. How about this? Allowed location for resource group and allowed location. So these are two separate policies. They may sound similar, allowed location for resource group and allowed location. Basically, this is just for the resource group. And this one is for all the resources. So let's apply this. So you will just select the policy and click on Assign Policy. Now, what will be the scope? As I told you, I want to apply this on the subscription, so I will just select my subscription and I will leave the resource group. You can also actually select your subscription and exclude a specific resource group because it will get inherited. So my scope is right, and rest, everything is default. I will not change anything, not even the name for the assignment. Now, what will be the parameter? Remember, the policy is about allowed location, so I have to select a location. Let's say Canada Central. There is no need for remediation at the moment. A non-compliance message can be, it is just a demo. And create. And that's it. It is that easy to apply a policy. Now, I applied this policy on the resource group level, and now let's test it. Before we test, it's a good idea to actually log out and log in. So I will also do that, log out, and then let's get back in. All right, now let's try to create a resource group in a different region. Let's see if the policy is working or not. I will just call it test. Let's select South Africa. I have no errors yet, so let's see if it gets validated. And here we go. There is a problem here. Test was disallowed by a policy. Okay. So this means the policy is working. And that is how you apply policy to maintain a compliance over your organization. And how to remove the policy? You can either go to the policy directly and click on assignments and find the policy you want to remove. I want to remove this one. And you can delete the assignment. that is how you apply a policy on the subscription level. Now let's just go ahead and mix and match the policy at different scope levels. Remember, I already have a resource group called Demo in Canada Central, and this resource group have no resources yet. So let's apply a policy that the resource groups can only be created in Canada Central, but the resources can be created or can only be created in, let's say, UK South. So yes, it is possible to have a resource group in a different location and resources in another location. So let's search for policies and definition. I will search with location as the keyword. Oh, it's so many. Let me search for allowed locations. All right, so I will use this one first. Assign the policy. This will be assigned on the subscription. Allowed locations is actually only Canada Central. I will click next, next. No need for this message. I'm just doing it for a demo. Done. Now let's move back and use another policy called allowed locations. Again, I will assign it, but this time I'm going to assign it to demo resource group. Okay, parameter will be, let's go for UK South. Next, next, and create. Done. Now let's test it. Can we create another resource group in a different location? The answer is, of course, not. So this will be test, any random location. No, you cannot. How about, can we create a virtual machine, let's say? Or this will be easy, just a virtual network. In a different location. So I will select demo, and my VNet name will be test VNet, but I want to create this in East Asia. Going to keep everything default, and let's see if it gets validated. Again, I cannot. But can I do it in Canada Central? You may think it gets inherited from my resource group subscription policy. We can try that as well. Nope, it will not work. But how about UK South? Yes, it will work, and the deployment is in progress. So that is how you can actually apply multiple policies at multiple scopes. You can include as well as exclude resources and create a very much compliant ecosystem. All right, now let's check the compliance of the policy. If we go to policy, on the overview page itself, or you can also go to compliance, you can see that all my policies are active and it's compliant. Means the resource group I only have one resource group, and that resource group is in Canada Central. That is according to my policy. Again, I only have one resource, that is my virtual network. Even my virtual network is in UK South. That is also compliant to the policy. So let's change the policy so that my virtual network gets out of compliance. So we'll go to assignments and refresh allowed location. I'm gonna make a change here. So I'll say edit. I'm just changing my parameter to Canada Central. Next. next, next, and save. Now, remember, I have not deleted my virtual network, but I changed my policy. So eventually, when Azure will rescan all the resources for compliance, it should tell us that, hey, there is something which is not compliant. So now we will wait for it. Let's go back to the policy and check. It might not show up immediately. Still, everything is compliant. We'll wait because we know that one resource is not compliant. All right, now let's see for the compliance. It's been 20 minutes, and here we go. So something is not compliant, and you can check it here. So allowed location, this virtual network is not compliant anymore. So this is how you actually create policies, and you can also check for resources which are compliant, non-compliant, and you can fix the issue. And removing the policy is also straightforward. To just remove the assignment, you basically go to policies, you find your assignments over here, and then just select the policy. Click on the menu button, and you can just delete the assignment. So I will delete all the assignment I made for the previous demo. And that's all. So all the policies will be removed. Remember, when you remove the policy, the effect might take some time to actually be presentable, right? So let's show you that. I'm going to create a test group in a different location. Let's see if it is already done. Yeah, the policy is removed. But remember, sometime you will still see that the resources are not being allowed by Azure to create. That means the policy effect is still taking time to take effect. In that case, you can also log out and log in, and it should work. Welcome back. I hope the lab was clear. Now, to sum it all up, I will say Azure Policy is a powerful service or tool for ensuring that your resources are compliant or your services are compliant with your organization's standard. Now, in this episode, we covered how to create and assign policies, monitor compliance through the Azure portal, and use Policy Insight to gain a detailed view of compliance trends. We also discussed the importance of remediation or solutions. Now, these are your automated tasks to correct a non-compliant resource or device and bring it back to compliant status. By leveraging all these tools, such as Azure Policies, you can enforce governance across your cloud resources or environment. You can also maintain compliance and reduce risks associated with non-compliant configurations. Thank you for joining us for this episode on Azure Policies. I will see you in the next episode. Take care.